Hello, my friends. Today I wanna share something with you. How Buddha, a historic Buddha, predicted a Christ in his teachings. You can find this in a teaching of Diamond Sutra in part 6, where I'll just read it to you, where Subhuti asks in the Diamond Sutra, chapter 6, where Subhuti asks the Lord Buddha for a actually I'll read it to you. Subhuti respectfully asked the Lord Buddha, Most Honored One, in the future, if the person hears this teaching, even if it's only a phrase or a sentence, is it possible for that person to have true faith and knowledge of enlightenment awakened in their mind? That was his question. Now the Buddha, which Buddha answers is, without doubt, Subhuti, even 500 years after the enlightenment of this Buddha, what he's talking about himself, there will be some who are virtuous and wise, and while practicing compassion and charity, will believe in the words and phrases of the sutra and will awaken their minds purely. After they come to hear this teaching, they will be inspired with belief. This is because when some people hear these words, they will have understood intuitively that these words are the truth. So basically, what Buddha is saying here is the self that awakens inside us. What he was saying, the self that awakens, is exactly what the Christ have realized, and without even reading the sutra, the Christ was blessed by the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit entered into him, and then he was acting no longer of his ego self, but of his universal self, the self that Buddha describes here. But Diamond Sutra is very very powerful sutra, and it goes even deeper than what it is. So if you want me to, I can read it, the rest of it for you, but that's how I see. He was talking about exactly, without doubt, Subhuti, even 500 years after the enlightenment of this Buddha, what he was talking about himself, and he's exactly predicting the Christ coming, there will be some who are virtuous and wise. He was talking about Christ, and while practicing compassion, exactly what Christ did, and charity, will believe in the words and phrases of the sutra. So so basically that's what he was saying. That's how I see it. But the sutra goes deeper than that. I'll read the rest for you because it's really interesting. And so there it continues on. The Buddha says, but you must also remember, Subhuti, that such a person have long ago planted the seeds of goodness. And this is funny how the Bible sometimes interprets how the Christ was saying that you need to plant the seeds in the field, and the field, sometimes there's a bad person comes and plant the weeds in it and all that. But listen, this is really interesting. So I see so much similarities between some of the Bible teachings and this. So planted the seeds of goodness and merit that leads to this realization. Okay. So again, but you must also remember, Subhuti, that such a person have long ago planted the seeds of goodness and merit that leads to this realization. They have planted the seeds of goodness, of good deeds and charity, not simply before one Buddhist temple, or he was talking about between one Buddha, or two temples, or two Buddhists, or 5 Buddhists, but before hundreds of thousands of Buddhas. Okay, we're talking about Buddha, not about historic Buddha. We're talking about the Buddhas in the past, like lived long ago, even different universes. So yeah, so when a person who hears the words or phrases of the sutra is ready for it, to happen, a pure faith and clarity can awaken within their minds. Now, the Buddha always talk about mind, but mind in Christian faith is heart. Is the same thing. Mind and heart is the same thing. Mind and heart. Anyway, so Subhuti asks again. Subhuti, so the Buddha continues. Subhuti, any person who awakens faith upon hearing these words or phrases of the sutra will accumulate countless blessings and merits. So this sutra is very, very important. No, and I think it's not only to Buddhists, but also to Christians. But Christians can go with the Bible. Bible pretty much summarizes what, because Buddha was teaching this. Christ was teaching the for people who have low intellectual understanding at that time. So poor people who were full of open-heartedness but did not understand how to live their life. So anyway, now he goes. He continues on. So how do I know this? The Buddha asks, how do I know this? Because this person must have declared all arbitrary notions of the existence of the personal self, of other people, or universal self. Otherwise, their minds would still grasp after such relative concepts. So Buddha was saying here, such a person have an arbitrary notion of the existence of the self. So he was saying that he truly understands what self is, not just how the self, the universal self, or whatever you want to call it, the higher self, who he is. So at that time, Christ was referring to God. He was saying that's his universal self. That's true. That's what our universal self is. A God. In a lot of people don't misunderstand this concept of God these days, but that's what Buddha said. Universal self. He was talking about the self, but the self. Who am I? It's a. There's a relative. There's a. Like a person, and there's a higher notion of the self that isn't so obvious, that it's like a subconscious self. Subconscious mind, which we cannot understand directly with our mind, but we can intuitively understand it. So anyway, otherwise, that's what Buddha continues, otherwise their minds will still grasp after such relative concepts. So he was saying that, like a relative concept is like a body, Christ. This is the problem we're having with the religions these days. Everyone grasps of their own concepts, like they don't understand the higher self. The higher self doesn't have the Buddhist, doesn't have the Christian, doesn't have the Muslim, doesn't have any of these notions. In fact, Zen or whatever you want to call it. The problem is the language. There's many languages, many different understandings, but the self is the same for everyone, or the higher, or God, whatever you want to call it. Either way. So Buddha continues, furthermore, these people must have already discarded all arbitrary notions of non-existence of a personal self. So he was saying that the self is not really existent, but I don't want to explain this because it's really deep. A lot of people might not understand this, and non-existence of a personal self. So he was saying that person that makes me is not really me, because I'm include everything, all the universe. That's the way I can explain it here, I guess. And other people, so existence of personal self, other people, or universal self. So he was saying that furthermore, these people must have already discarded all arbitrary notions of the non-existence of a personal self, other people, or universal self. Otherwise, their minds would still be grasping in such notions. So he said that these people discarded this. That's exactly my point. So what I'm talking about here, he said, get rid of it. Therefore, anyone who's, this is really deep sutra, you really need to, it's hard to explain all this but once, but I'll try, I'll give it a try. So there he continues on, therefore, anyone who seeks total enlightenment should discard not only all conception of their own selfhood, of other selves, or of universal self. So you're saying that basically get rid of the concepts. Once you get rid of the concepts that God, self, whatever you want to call it, you get rid of it. So he goes beyond what Christ taught. He was saying that even though these people will be teaching, but you need to get rid of this notion of the self, notion of yeah, like not just personal self, but yeah, self and other selves and universal self. But they only also discard all notions of non-existence of such concepts. So you're saying, but they should also discard all notions of the non-existence of such concepts. So you see, you're saying not just discard the self, but the non-self as well. Get it? So yeah, and it doesn't end here. So this part of the sutra continues on. When Buddha explains these things using such concepts and ideas, people should remember that unreality of all such concepts and ideas. Remember the unreality. So you're saying what we think. You know how people see. Okay, an example. Buddha, basically what he was saying here is that you know how people some people have what's called clairvoyance. They see things with their mind. He was saying these things should be abandoned. You're saying what you see is not really the truth, and these ideas and such concepts should be get rid of. Not get rid of like you have to get rid of it, but that's not the truth. That's just an appearance of the mind, the playing of the mind, unreality of such concepts and ideas. So a lot of people say, oh, you know, I saw the future. Nah, you didn't see the future. That's not the truth. Even though sometimes it might happen like that, but sometimes might not. That's not the truth, because no one can really see the future. The only thing is right now. That's the only true thing. So anyway, they should okay, it continues on of this part. They should recall that in the teaching spiritual truth, the Buddha always uses the concepts and ideas in the way that a raft is used to cross a river. So basically he was saying about the Dharma, saying the Dharma is like a raft. Once you cross the ocean of samsara, you don't need the raft anymore, do you? So you need to get rid of all these concepts, all the sutras, all the Bibles, all the everything. Get rid of it, throw it out. Because once you cross it, you know you're on the other shore, or actually you might understand that the other shore, no longer the other shore, and there is no such thing as samsara, and there's no such thing as one shore and the other shore. It's all just the concepts and ideas. Okay, yeah, so this continues on, the Buddha continues on. So you're saying these arbitrary concepts and ideas about spiritual things need to be explained to us as we seek to attain enlightenment. You see what you're saying here? However, ultimately these arbitrary conceptions can be discarded. So you were saying all these ideas about spiritual things, about Bible, about Dharma, about everything, about the causes the problems. See, like I was saying before in my other video, that everything is a Dharma. All those Dharmas, you know, we have a Dharma of Christianity, you have a Dharma of Buddhism, you have a Dharma of what was it? Muslim Dharma. You know, you can say that like but he's saying that these conceptions must be discarded. So, and then he says, think, Subhuti, isn't it even more obvious than we should also give up a conception of non-existent things? So he was saying that we finally need to get rid of the non-existent things that we create, we made up in your minds. We constantly create something, you know, like creativity, you know, people create things with their minds. They say, oh, you know, this is great, you know. So, but he was saying the conceptions of non-existent things like flowers in the sky. One of his sutras, he was saying that, you know, some people have a vision, you know, of flowers in the sky which are non-existent. He's saying basically we need to abandon everything, the good, the bad. So like the weather, it doesn't, you know, people say, oh, today is a bad weather, today is a good weather. This is just an example. But he's saying that, hang on, guys, you got all this wrong. The weather can't be good or bad. You created it, you know. You said good weather. You said the bad weather, but no such thing. Weather is just the way it is. It's raining, or it's sunny, or it's windy. You know, it's just the way it is. There is no such thing as good or bad. So that's where I will leave it at. And thank you very much for watching. I hope this was helpful. This is yeah. I hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching, and see you later. 15 minutes gone.